Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Chrono here, and welcome back to the channel. So today, I wanted to have a little talk with you guys. It's very common that players kind of dislike dailies. It's not only a PSO2 thing, but a thing that exists in a lot of MMOs. And I'm someone who likes to play different MMOs. I've had a lot of experience with different types of dailies, and one that I see consistently get quite a bit of flack or hate in the PSOs community is LTQs. So today, I want to talk about how I feel about LTQs, how I feel like they can be helpful, and I feel like they can be a little bit of a problem, and basically just parse your thoughts on them, guys. But before we jump to that, if you're new here, as always, I'm Chrono. I primarily cover PSO2 content. Would much appreciate a subscribe as we work our way towards that 10K mark, hopefully by the end of this year. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So part of my daily ritual whenever I get up in the morning is, of course, brush teeth, get myself together, usual hygiene stuff, feed the cat. It's like 7 a.m. usually, because they always like to eat super early. And then jump over to the computer, take care of my dailies on Wuthering Waves, and then pop over to PSO2 to knock out my dailies. So right around then, it's about 8 o'clock when daily reset happens, and I usually just jump in and knock out my dailies. And part of that daily route is doing not only an LTQ if there's one available, but LCE. Most people tend to skip LC, which I understand why. I'm mostly just running it for the copium that maybe I'll luck out and get the camo drop that I'm still trying to chase after. Man, spending 45 mil on that camo is going to be rough, especially since I need to spend 45 mil on that and then like 25 mil on another. Pretty expensive when it comes to the camos, but either way, that's kind of my daily jump into, take care of my usual stuff, jump over to deck space, kill another bunch of enemies, feed the mag, so on and forth. Just basically take care of all the usual dailies. And like I mentioned, one daily usually gets quite a bit of flack, and that's the LTQ. Now, LTQ, I'm not here to tell you that the LTQ is wonderful and you're all wrong. It's not. LTQ is pretty mind-numbing. However, even though I'm not the biggest fan of LTQs in general, I also understand their usefulness in the actual community overall, or just in the game overall. A lot of players are like, oh, well, it's not content. It's not something that to be honest, people always scream want more content and then don't ever run the content we have. I know plenty of players who haven't done Solus, who've ignored dual quests, and there's always some excuse. There's some reason why they want to decide they're not doing it. But to be perfectly honest, there are plenty of things that have been fantastic and super fun to do that players have flat out ignored and not done. For some people, the game is just a lobby simulator, and that's totally fine. But realistically speaking, there are plenty of things that can be done. There is content you can interact with. It may not always be the content for you, but it does exist. It is there. As far as LTQs go in general, their role is primarily just to be a vehicle to deliver just materials that players need over time. One thing I found to be pretty common is, at least as of late, the LTQs tend to cycle more often, as well as provide a lot more resources that we actually need. I've always had quite a few of the different class cubes of different classes while never playing as those classes at all. It allows me to be able to, over time, roll the add-on skills that I need, or even try to optimize them a bit more without having to swap over and level on those classes, without having to basically go out of my way to gather those cubes. Tons of resources like Strugmans, you have God, I'm trying to think of the names of some of these resources off the top of my head. I'm just so used to just having them flow into my inventory and not paying any attention. I don't think of all of them off the top of my head, but yeah, we have class cubes, we have the Strugmans, we have arms refiners, even things like icicle orbs, icicle cubes that we used previously, like just tons and tons of different resources, tech arts customization discs, so on and so forth, that we mostly take for granted. They just kind of throw at you at random. A lot of the LC augments also drop from not only Lucille, but also LTQs, and allow you to build yourself up very, 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 very quickly without a lot of extra work that has to be put into it. You're essentially able to get a lot done with very little effort and very minimal resource investment at all. You can do a lot of these things with just the free gear that they give you. And one thing we talked about in yesterday's video is a small amount of effort going a long way. Honestly, doing your dailies is how you min-max resources out of PSO2 with having to put in the minimal amount of work. You get the maximum rewards with very little effort put into the game completely. Over time, you build yourself up quite a bit. And part of why I'm saying that I think LTQ is so important is it delivers a lot of those resources to players who don't go out of their way to farm those resources. I don't have to tell you, hey, you need to go into a very specific combat zone or go here to get a hold of, you know, the upgrade materials that you're going to need to make a specific piece of gear. Like, you don't have to go out of your way to find arms refiners. You don't have to go out of your way to find strugments. You don't have to go out of your way to get class cubes of different classes or things of that sort, because a lot of them are just rewards in LTQs. Now, I do want them to put a bit more effort into these LTQs. I do like the fact that they've been experimenting with them back and forth. They've been adding in bosses. They've been, you know, experimenting with cycling LTQs, different sizes of LTQs. But one thing I think that needs to be consistent is they need to really step up the mindset of making these cross ship. There is no reason this content shouldn't be cross ship. In my opinion, there's no reason any instance content shouldn't be cross ship, but this, absolutely. This should definitely be cross ship content. It should not just be Lucille, because the fact that it's still just Lucille is honestly a pretty big L in my opinion. I feel like Sega's really holding themselves back by not making this content cross ship. It's very easy for them to push a lot of or it's basically an easy dub for them, right? Like, players would be excited even if it's not that interesting piece of content to do. Nameless, Lucille, and LTQ should all be cross ship, pretty much bar none. I'd even argue that, you know, our urgent quest should be at this point as well, but I mean, that's something that I could excuse waiting a bit longer for overall, in my opinion. But the rest of these, I really feel like they need to be cross ship. It needs to be done as soon as possible. But I digress. LTQs. Do I really think they should ever go anywhere? No, I don't. I think they are a bit of a nothing burger when they're announced, but it's something that you would expect, right? Like, if you're a PSO fan, it's like seeing on a roadmap new difficulty for X region. It was much like seeing in base PSO2 adding in super hard difficulty or ultra hard difficulty. It was much like seeing in PSU adding an S rank, adding an S2, S3. It was much like seeing in, you know, PSO adding in the next level of difficulty for playthroughs and things of that sort. Like, this is pretty much standard par for the course Phantasy Star. It feels a lot like that in the mix itself. And yeah, don't get me wrong, we see, you know, the increase of regions and things of that sort, but LTQ is like just saying, hey, we're also mixing up your dailies a little bit too, that way you're not just doing the same single daily over and over again. Is it perfect? No. By all means, I do think we need to put more effort into some of these LTQs. I'd like to see more LTQs similar to that of the Sonic LTQ and some other ones we had a lot of fun with. There are some on the horizon that do look really cool, that I'm going to enjoy running quite a bit, and I would like to have incentive to run LTQs even more. But I think what they currently set up at the moment makes sense, and their purpose at the moment makes sense overall. That's pretty much it. I'm curious to see what you guys think in the comments below. To be honest, I'm not against LTQs being changed or even being yeeted altogether if you guys have a better idea overall for dailies. As someone who plays a lot of MMOs, dailies are something that's always going to be a part of it. And not while some people disagree with dailies as a concept because they're concerned with FOMO, I think dailies are kind of built into the MMO genre in general. I feel like it'd be kind of awkward, even in games that incentivize away from this, they even still have dailies. My first thought is like RuneScape, where the entire design of the game itself kind of moves away from the whole daily process. And even that game has dailies. I'm not talking about RS3, I'm talking about OSRS. There's even daily content for that game as well. So it's just one of those things where I feel like it's something that's going to get mixed in. And I'm curious to see what you guys think, how you would change things up. Like, what would you do specifically? And I mean, honestly, anyone's like, I would just, you know, make it more content. Like, it's the lamest thing ever, man. Like, actual tangible, like, would you guys like say, oh, daily boss rush, or like split the dailies up into different regions, or like a daily area, or like, you know, a new design for a quest type or something along those lines? I feel like those are the types of conversations I'm looking to see. If you have one of those other ones, you're probably just gonna get overlooked. Not to be mean or anything along those lines, but let's not be that level of brain rot these days. I'd love to see some actual conversation in the comments below. Not that there hasn't been there before, but you know, you guys know what I'm talking about. Either way, appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. Like if you enjoyed the video, sub if you want to keep up with more. As always, thanks to the channel members. You guys are fantastic individuals. I'm still bad at outros. Take care, my friends. Peace out.